All right, we'll start tonight's hearing. Tonight is November 14th, and this is our conference center hearing. Before we start, please bow your heads. Dear Heavenly and Gracious Father, thank you for the many wonderful things that you bring into our lives. Earlier this week, we celebrated Veterans Day. May all of us tonight remember all of our veterans, not only the ones that are serving, the ones that have served, and the ones that have given the ultimate sacrifice, so we may remain free as Americans and meet in venues such as this and discuss the issues that we have this evening. And with that, please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. Right, okay. Okay. We have a sign-up list here. I want to make sure that everyone had a chance to sign up. Here's who I have in this particular batting order. Stephanie Bell, Lisa Steppelman, John McCullough, Dwayne Schreiman, Steve Smith, David Wallace, Marianne Hall Murphy, Jamie Reed, His Honorable, the Old Burgermeister, John Landwehr. There's an inside joke. John could tell you that. Ryan Rowden, Colleen Taylor, Glover Brown, Daryl Winiger, Jason Lubring, Chris Shepperly, Randy Haight, Jordan Wilson, Scott Bettany, Jim Penfold. Have I missed anyone? Yes, sir. I'm sorry? Yes, anyone else? Go ahead, sir. I'm sorry, sir. Heath, right? Anyone else that may have missed? All right, with that, the list will be closed for this evening, and with that, I'll turn it over to Drew Hilpert. Excuse me. Oh, by the way, anyone that's standing, we have plenty of open seats. Please come forward before we start. There's seats up front here. There's seats. These big chairs won't bite. You actually have your own microphone at those. And there's more seats over here to your right, in front of Jim Penfold and Lisa Steppelman. If you can point those out, by all means, have a seat. After you leave, if you have to leave, we understand that. So just because you're sitting up front, don't feel like you have to spend the night. We understand. Okay. With that being said, Drew Hilpert.
Just gonna tell everybody the rules of the game tonight. The mayor will call the names in order. Be limited to 5 minutes. I'll be the timekeeper. We originally limited this meeting to an hour, but I think we're not going to do that because we got 21 speakers, so we want to give everybody a chance to talk. So with that, if you have any questions, let us know, but let's go.
And we would ask you tell us your name and address and whether or not you're a city resident. And first is Stephanie Bell. Miss Bell. Stephanie, thank you for being here. There's a button on the back, Stephanie. Mm-hmm.
All right. Are we good?
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. All right, I have a few quick points I'd like to make this evening. You've already heard from me, and I am in support of the downtown site location. So first, let's talk a little bit about the voters. The lodging tax was sold to the voters as for a downtown conference center. It said downtown in the ads that were used to pass the measure. It said downtown in the News Tribune editorial urging voters to vote yes. Voters were sold on the idea of a downtown conference center. taxpayer dollars should be used by this council as promised. Second, size of the facility. We heard on Monday from the CVB that the most important factor is the size of the facility. Out of 7 competing properties in Missouri identified by the city's consultant, both of the proposals on the table alone would be the smallest in terms of square footage. What advantage does that give us? The downtown location is unique in that it is directly adjacent to our existing conference center. Looking at the Earhart proposal in combination with the space available at the Capitol Plaza Hotel, you now have more square footage than 5 of our 7 competitors. This is what the experts have said is the most important factor in building a conference center. This is what our city needs. Meeting planners. All of the meeting planners who have testified before you have told you that downtown is the only location where they would bring their meetings and events. The number one reason people come to our city is because we are the state capitol. That's an easy one, right? Proximity to the Capitol building itself, state offices, and visitor attractions is what people want. Why we would force meeting planners to incur the cost to constantly transport people from where they are to where they actually want to be is not smart. We know downtown is where people want to be because that's what they've told us. You've heard it from the meeting planners. You know it from living in our city. Pick up a copy of the latest Jefferson City magazine. Our best restaurants include J. Finney's, Eris Pizza, Madison's. Our best shopping spots include Saffy's, Samuel's, American Shoe, and River City, and that's according to the people of our city. The bottom line is downtown is our city's bright spot. In business and in our organizations, it is just human nature to want to try to fix things that are broken. The experts agree, though, that if we spend our resources on focusing on the bright spots, asking ourselves what's working and how do we do more of that we'd be substantially better off. So what is working? You've seen the reinvestment in downtown in the last 10 years. You've seen the thousands of people in downtown for community events. You know that there are thousands of people who come to our city each year because of the Capitol and MSP. You saw us win America's Most Beautiful Small Town because of the downtown area. I'd ask that you invest the city's money not only where the people want it, but where it makes the most sense, and that's downtown.
Stephanie, thank you very much for coming tonight. Next we have Lisa Steppelman. Good evening, Lisa.
My name is Lisa Steppelman. My address is 1618 Hazelton Drive. I asked Rob and Kirk to speak tonight on behalf of the West End Convention Center. I asked to speak tonight not to discuss numbers and a return on investment for the 2 convention centers, but to speak about the passion I have for this project and the future growth of this city. With that being said, I would like to say that the thought of 1,000 convention goers battling traffic through our downtown and the East End with its current lack of infrastructure makes me extremely happy that I live on the West End in the event that that choice would be made, which I certainly hope it doesn't. In my 35 years of management experience, I learned to listen to the ideas of the new and the younger generation, and then count on my knowledge and expertise to guide them to success. That's exactly what I see as being done with Farmer Holding Company, a company that has proven success and 40 years of experience in the business arena, with 2 members of a younger generation spearheading this project. Kirk is a native who moved away for several years and moved back home to make Jeff City his permanent residence. And Rob, a native Dallasite, has also chosen to make Jeff City his home. The 2 combined make a dynamic team to lead this project to success, along with the vast experience of the Farmer family. I see this as a team that will not fail. Each morning I call a friend of ours, Mayor, a mutual friend of ours, Sherry Eisenhart, and she lives in Ashland, so she's a little bit behind on what's going on in Jeff City. So I was telling her a little bit about the convention center options, and I had just been to see it at their presentation at the West Side Business Association. Then I attended the last council meeting last week, and the first words out of her mouth, she said, "You know, I trust them. They are a time-tested business who have earned our trust." And I said, "You so appropriately summed up my feelings about this company and this project." So I leave the facts and the figures and the return on investments to you, but from what I've heard in the last 2 presentations that I've attended, the West End Convention Center has met all your requirements. For me, I vote for the time-tested Farmers Holding Company proposal. Thanks.
Lisa, thank you very much for being here tonight. Next we have John McCullough. Take it John's not here. We'll add him to the end in case he left and came back, thinking that maybe this may have started at a later time. Next, we have the Honorable former Mayor Dwayne Schreiman.
Good evening, Dwayne Schreiman, 603 Turnberry Drive, city resident. The best thing you say about that is former. You will soon know that.
I'll let you know.
Let me first say I want to be upfront with you. I am an attorney here in town and I represent Farmer Holding Company. So I want you to know that when you listen to my comments. The only thing I have to say about this, one thing I hope, and seeing all of these folks here, I hope this does not become an issue that divides the city. I think everyone in this room is on the same page that they want to do what is the best for the community, and I know that's what you want. So I hope when everyone leaves tonight, I hope there's not any ill feelings because of anything that's said tonight, because I think everybody here wants the same thing. The only thing I want to tell you is, in my representation of the Farmer Holding Company, there have been a number of successful projects that have been done in this community by this company. Any project that this company has been involved in has gone to fruition. It has been completed. And I think the best example of that is when you look at the Stone Ridge Development Mall off of Missouri Boulevard, where you look at the Buffalo Wild Wings, look at Kohl's, look at Dick's Sporting Goods, and now they successfully are on recruiting Sam's to come. I think that shows you the ability of this company and the success that they have in development. And I think the city could not have a better partner in the development of a convention center than this company. No matter what decision you make, we know it's a tough one, but I think everybody in the room thinks they support this concept, and we congratulate you on moving forward. I'm glad I'm not sitting where you guys are and making decisions. Thanks.
Thank you, Dwayne. Appreciate you being here tonight, guy. Next, Thomas Smith.
Tom Smith, 114 East High Street, Jeff City resident. I want to start by thanking you all for seeking the public's input in this and holding these hearings and allowing us to come up and talk to you about what our thoughts are. Obviously, you can see by the red tie, I support the downtown location, and it's not just because I live downtown. I tried to take a kind of an impartial view of this and look at both proposals, came to the meeting on Tuesday night to hear from the consultant, and after hearing everything, I still support the downtown location. I think Stephanie put it very well that the downtown is the place in Jefferson City that everyone wants to be. Visitors coming to Jeff City, downtown is where they go. They want to go to the Capitol building, the state offices are there, the Missouri Supreme Court is there, the Attorney General's offices are there. You have all these different restaurants and bars, that's where people want to go. And I think that Councilwoman Carroll put it best on Tuesday night when she said, you want to build it so that people will come. Well, downtown is the place to build it if that's what you're looking for. That's where people are going to come. Just to give you one example of some of the problems that I see with having it at the mall site, that's the idea of shuttling people back and forth. And on Tuesday night, what I heard a lot, the timetable I heard a lot was 5 minutes from the mall to downtown. There's no way you can make it there in 5 minutes. It's 10 minutes at the least. And if you do the math on that, say you have two 20-person shuttles taking people, and you have a group visiting the mall, the conference center at the mall, and 100 of them want to go downtown, or 100 of them want to go to MSP, and you only have these two 20-person shuttles, it's going to take at least 50 minutes to get 100 people downtown, going there and back. More if you want to go to MSP. If you have the site downtown, sure, MSP is a little farther away. They can't really walk there, but you'll have shuttles. You'll have the trolley system running through downtown if you want to utilize that. And there's one thing that really kind of digs at me when I think about the farmer proposal, and I'm not a long-term Jeff City resident. I'm fairly new here. Farmers were one of the first names I heard when I moved here. They've done great things, and I appreciate their efforts to revitalize the mall and their efforts to put forth a proposal for the conference center. I just think that the downtown location is better. And one of those reasons is because when I think about the conference center being built at the mall, I see taxpayer dollars going into private enterprise. And from, granted, I'm no math expert, but when I look at the money that goes into, that the city is going to, the taxpayers are going to have to put into these this conference center, if we have it at the mall, the taxpayers are putting in more than half of the money for this. And they're getting no equity for it. There's nothing to stop the owners of the mall site to just sell it once the conference center is built. And even if it's not working well, the city's left on the hook for that, and not the people that own the mall. So we're essentially giving taxpayer dollars to retail to fund the revitalization of the mall, and we're getting really nothing back in return. Downtown is where this conference center should be, and I would just ask that if you're not happy with the current downtown proposal that's on the table, at least go back to the drawing board, put out another RFP and see what you get, because I really think that if this conference center is going to be successful, it needs to be downtown. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Tom, for being here tonight. Appreciate it. Next, we have Mr. Dave Wallace. David.
David Wallace, 2812 Sioux Drive. I am a city resident. Mayor, City Council, I thank you again for letting me come before you and talk to you about this project. You know, this is something that since I returned to Jefferson City in '87, you know, it's been really something that's been kicked around an awful lot. And we're right now at the crossroads of whether we go forward or we don't, okay? There are two proposals on the table. I favor the one in the downtown location for a number of reasons. It just seems to be a better choice for the core of our community. There's been so much done in the downtown area, as others have pointed out. But just a few things that I want to remind people of in going through the farmer's proposal. They referenced 6 different overflow hotels, ranging from the Comfort Suites out near Apache Flats down to the Doubletree and Capitol Plaza downtown. That's 796 guest rooms. The one thing that those all have in common is that people would have to get in their cars and drive to the convention center. Once people have driven 5 hours, 3, 4, 5 hours to get to Jefferson City, that's one thing they really don't want to do is get back in a car and drive to a meeting, then have to drive back. And, you know, that's one of the shortcomings I see out there. In the downtown area, if you look at the Capitol Plaza, Doubletree, Baymont, and the Courtyard, between those properties, you're going to have 649 guest rooms. Those are all within a reasonable walking distance to the conference center. It's also, as was pointed out earlier, within walking distance to the downtown area in the Munichburg district, where you're going to find up to 17 different entertainment venues, whether they're restaurants or lounges. And that's what people look to do in the evenings when they come for a conference. They're tied up during the day. Okay, they're in meetings, they're having meals, they've got exhibits going on that they need to attend. But in the evening is when they let their hair down and they're looking for something fun to do. And they're looking for local places. I can't remember the last time somebody came up to me in my hotel and asked for me, hey, where's Applebee's? Where's Ruby Tuesdays? They want to know where the local places are, where they can get a taste of the local culture and all of that. One of the other things that, and I won't even get into the shuttle situation, because, you know, if you've got, my question is, you know, on the shuttle service, is that just for the hotel guests that are staying at the courtyard? Or could that be for up to 800 people wanting to go downtown at one time? And I was looking at 45 passenger school buses, because that's the largest quantity and cheapest transportation you've got. That'd be 18 trips. Just do the math. And in the proposal, in one place it says complimentary transportation, and down a little further it says this will be a well-needed cash boost for our city bus program. So who's paying for that? The other thing that really concerns me, and I guess it's the most critical point, has to do with size and what the capacities to, I guess, provide meeting and conference services for these folks. When you look at the farmer's proposal, they've got basically their meeting spaces subdivided, 20,000 and 10,000. And looking and using the certified meeting professionals guidelines, you're looking at uneven numbers. 10,000, 20,000. You can't house the same number in meetings and feed the same quantity as you can if you're looking at a total of 30,000 square feet. Okay? In the proposal by Earhart's, they need to reconfigure their stuff a little bit, but in 30,000 square feet, that gives you the ability to split that space into half and have two 15,000 square foot sections. One for meetings, one for meals. And in doing something like that, you're looking at approximately 882 people that you could put down for a meeting. And then for rounds, you could feed 1,100 people in the same facility right next door. All right? Capacity, 30,000 square feet. You could put down 2,200 people for one banquet at 72-inch in diameter round tables. That's a tremendous number. You could also put down 2,500 people theater style. Okay, so that's, again, some tremendous numbers. In looking at the mall location, the largest theater style would be 1,666. Classroom using the 20,000 square foot area would be 1,176. And rounds, the largest banquet you could do would be 1,482. So just looking at the capacities, you know, that has a big bearing. There's some other points, but, you know, I urge the City Council not to choose either of these proposals, just to choose one, okay? It's best to let it sit, try it again some other day, than to take a bad choice. So, thank you for your time.
David, thank you for coming here. Next, I have on the list Mary Ann Hall Murphy. Mary Ann, good evening. Thank you for being here.
I'm Mary Ann Hall Murphy. I live at 1110 Morrow Drive, Jefferson City, Missouri. I'm here as a business owner of the Art Bazaar and Art Co-op. It's been downtown for 5.5 years. We have welcomed hundreds and hundreds of visitors who have come to the capital city for a variety of reasons and walked to our beautiful historic business district. I am here also as a past president of Historic City of Jefferson to remind you of some of the downtown history. What I want to say has nothing to do with economics, conventions, or the feasibility of the two sites. It has everything to do with the history of the downtown site. 6 years ago, in this chamber, then Mayor John Landwehr used his veto to kill a bill that would have saved the homes in the 200 block of West McCarty, including the historic Bassman House. Landwehr's veto was sustained by the City Council. As a result, the 100-year-old Bassman House and 3 other buildings next to it were quickly torn down to make way for a convention center that the mayor and the city council told us was swiftly and surely to come. The Bassman House was built from the stones of the Thomas Lawson Price Mansion, which itself was torn down to make way for the Supreme Court building. The last tangible link to Jefferson City's first mayor and a solidly built home that would have lasted 100 years was reduced to a pile of rubble and hauled off. Members of Historic City of Jefferson labored long and hard to offer a workable plan to save the Bassman House and the adjacent houses. They all could have been saved. They all should have been saved. Viable proposals were made by the individuals to the city to renovate those vacant houses into income-producing and sales tax-generating businesses. But no, our long-range thinkers insisted the houses had to be demolished to make way for a conference center. They insisted it was the only logical place. It had to be there, close to the Capitol and close to downtown. Now, the new mayor and the new council are considering a totally different location, nowhere near the McCarty Street tracks or the Capitol or downtown. If you make a decision to go anywhere else but the McCarty site, you will add insult to injury to the people of this community who care about our history and historic preservation. We cannot bring back Bassman House or the other houses in that block. They are gone forever. But I urge you to consider the history of the downtown site and what we have lost to make it ready for an idea whose time may finally have come. Please consider carefully what you are doing. It would be a shame to think we lost all that we lost for absolutely no good reason.
Marianne, thank you for being here tonight. We have some extra chairs up here. Gary, Trinkard, whoever else in the back row, if you'd like to sit down. Finney, would you like a seat? You don't, in your profession, you don't get a seat that often. Next time on the agenda is Jamie Reed. By the way, there is the old landwear rule, and that's no applause and no booing. Just so you know. Mr. Reed.
Jamie Reed, 127 West Circle Drive. I'm a Jeff City resident and native. First and foremost, I want to support the motion of moving forward with the conference center one way or another. I think it's critical to the economic development of Jefferson City and our future. It's important that we make a decision now. If we don't do it now, we could wait around for another 25 years. I don't think we can afford to miss out on the millions of visitors and revenues collected from them between now and then. Having said that, there's only one site that is financially feasible, and that's the Capitol Mall. And at the mall, with the convention center there, coupled with the redevelopment plans that we have, I think we can create a unique development, not only for visitors coming in for conventions, but for our own residents and for surrounding communities, and capitalize on those revenues as well. This is a completely a business decision that needs to be made, based on facts and economic viability, not, dreams and wishes. And there's one decision to make. You guys decided to pay Mr. Johnson and his firm tens of thousands of dollars to tell you where to build a convention center. Listen to them. Let's build it now, and let's build it at Capitol Mall. Thank you.
Jamie, thank you for being here tonight. Next we have on the agenda former Mayor Landwehr, John Landwehr. John, welcome back.
My name is John Landwehr. I live at 2103 Scenic Drive, Jefferson City, and I don't represent anybody. My wife Peggy's here. I represent her. She said I could speak for 5 minutes. Thank you so much for your time. There's 11 or 12 of you or more who are putting in a lot of time on this, and the hourly rate's probably about 72 cents. And as a citizen, I appreciate it. This issue is much too complicated for 5 minutes. A group of us have been working on it, trying to assemble some information. I'm going to leave it with you. Take you about 20 minutes, 25 minutes to work through it. Please do so. I'm going to hit a couple of high points. I want to mention my good friend Marianne Hall and her impassioned statement. It's exactly true. This process did not begin with your council. It did not begin with this RFP. It began with 30 years assemblage of parcels in an urban core by the Housing Authority and by the city, and it was for the purpose of a large public amenity. You can go back 30 years and look at it. And Marianne Hall is correct. One of the most difficult decisions of my career as mayor. I said we need to reserve that space. The Bassman House was purchased for $200,000 at taxpayer expense for the purpose of tearing it down. And that site, that entire block, was teed up for this project. So it didn't begin with you, it didn't begin with this RFP. And my apologies to Marianne Hall. It was a tough decision, but I did it because it's a perfect site for a conference center. There are a couple of sections in this booklet, and I'll just hit the high points. The first question says, has the city thoroughly investigated working with the state of Missouri on site acquisition and parking, or have those efforts been terminated prematurely? And we were doing a little research, and there's a newspaper article in here. When they built the Truman Building, the state of Missouri said that the plans include a 425-car parking garage. Let's follow up with that. Let's follow up with that statement by the state of Missouri. Let's knock on some doors. Eric, you've been instrumental at MSP. It's taken us a long time. We've had to knock on a lot of doors and walk a lot of halls in the Capitol building, and I think maybe we're around the bend on MSP, on the tours and on the availability of the site. Let's put the same effort in working with the state on this project, because I don't think you've done so.
Just so you know, John, that those talks continue. Was on the phone with OA tonight as I was walking into City Hall. So
I hope
everyone should know that.
I hope it's not too little too late.
I don't think it is.
We've had good conversations with Drew, and when he sends an email to a group, I think it's fair game. He sent us an email on October 31st. I agree with it wholeheartedly. He's not an elected official, but let me tell you what Drew told our group on October 31st, 13. I agree there were some comments earlier in this selection process about believing the Earharts should lead the charge on acquisition. But clearly the council now understands that the city must be at the forefront of any acquisition, and they do not expect the Earharts to be able to do that alone. City participation is critical. Second section is, and it's been alluded to, what were the voters told when the lodging tax was being promoted in 2011? We have ads soliciting voter support, referencing the downtown site. We have an editorial from the News Tribune endorsing the tax based on the location of the site. I don't have to tell I don't have to tell elected officials that when there is a commitment made to taxpayers to pass a tax based on some promises, there has to be a very, very overwhelmingly good reason to turn your back on that. Again, this process did not begin with this council. It did not begin with this RFP. It goes well back into history. The third part is something, I'm not an accountant, but I took the trouble to try to wade through the TIF and the CID proposal. I know that's maybe down the road, but it's a package. It was been alluded to, and the way I read the numbers, at the end of the day, when the $24 million is handed to a private party for improvements on his private property, that $24 million contribution, and that's present value. That's not the stream of money over the next 40 years. You total that out, it's more like 50 or 60. But let's just use present value. The $24 million that is put on the table, if that proposal goes forward, is 54% of the overall investment in the mall. 54% on a private party's property. Finally, the comment about 1,000 cars battling the dilapidated east side, I forgot who made that comment, the underprivileged east side. We know that the public infrastructure right now at the mall is at its maximum. What project in this town of this size has not, where a parking study has not been required? A private developer that came to you with this project would automatically, a parking study would be required, because the theory is if you're going to put this project in, you can't expect the taxpayers a couple of years from now to build new ramps, new lights, new lanes. The developer that has to be part of the project, right? It's called a traffic study. You do it all the time. Here's what's going to happen. If there's no traffic study done and there's no allocation of funds for improvements at that infrastructure. What sales tax are we in now? H? G? Here's the proposal in sales tax H. Oh my. We have terrible congestion because we have 1,000 new cars at that site. It's congested now. You add a conference, 1,000 new cars, guess what sales tax H is going to have in it? $3, $4, $5 million for our infrastructure improvements because they're so desperately needed. It's a hidden cost. I think the farmer proposal, I respect them a great deal. There's no harm in asking. They've put together a very interesting package. At the end of the day, it's really not a very good package. It's not a good package for the taxpayers economically. It's not even a very good conference center design. There's been some references about there's a 150-room hotel, you have a 600-room conference, you have a 600-party conference center. Everybody's staying somewhere else, driving to the conference from their hotel room. Here's the other problem. I don't know if you've looked at the configuration. I thought if we handed a developer $24 million of taxpayer money, that there would be a freestanding, beautiful center that we would be proud of. That $24 million is going to be renovated mall space where the ballroom, 20,000 square feet, is on the other side of the meeting space. When's the last time you went to a conference and you went to the opening ceremonies and you had to walk 100 yards through a public thoroughfare to get to your breakout space, and then at noon go back and have the luncheon at the big space, and then go back to the breakout space? It's not a very good design. I don't know if any conference center experts have looked at the design. My naive impression of it is that if I went to a conference there once, I don't think I'd come back. So for all those reasons, think carefully on this. The recommendation of Mr. Johnson, who's a great fella, he made a close call. He said the mall proposal is easy. It's easy, but please think long term. Please think what's the one conference center we want to have in our town, and think about the taxpayers having a 54% stake in private property. Thanks.
John, thank you for being here, and John, thank you for all of your service to our community, and I also want to thank our former First Lady Peggy for probably having to deal with you on a few nights that maybe things didn't go quite right. I know Darla gets that from time to time, so welcome back. Next we have on the agenda Mr. Ryan Rowden. Ryan, welcome.
Thanks for having me. For the record, 123 Forest Hill, Jefferson City, Missouri. My name is Ryan Rowden. I'm the executive director of a trade association based here in Jefferson City. It's a statewide trade association. I've been in the trade association business now for almost 15 years. I've been to conferences all over the country. And in that experience here in Jefferson City with a number of different associations. And what I'm here to say today is that I think that the mall project probably makes the most sense for both the taxpayers as well as some of the associations. We're all different. I'm a member of the Missouri Society of Association Executives. I've served as their president. I've talked to, everybody has differing opinions on it, but I think at the end of the day, what people want as an association when they're picking a spot to come for a conference is it a nice hotel? Is the meeting space make sense for us? Is the food good? And then after that, we start talking about the proximities to facilities. You know, proximities to state buildings. The Truman Building, I don't even understand that. I mean, people come into this town. I assume that if they were wanting to go to the Truman Building to maybe renew their driver's license, it would make sense. But the only one is probably the state capitol. And when we've had association meetings in downtown Jefferson City with a lot of people, 300 people come in at association, it's cold that time of year, January to May, when those legislators are in town. And you got to shuttle them up there anyway. There's no parking spots at the Capitol. Very seldom do people walk up there, and if they do, that's fine. But we've shuttled people up to the Capitol for legislator visits numerous times in previous associations I've been with. I'd also say that, like from a taxpayer standpoint, I'm not faulting the downtown side. I think it's fine, but I think that we've been there for years and years and years, and it doesn't look like the infrastructure is there to do it. The mall property is sized well enough that they can expand it down the road. We keep talking about the transportation thing. It's let's say it's 10 minutes. I mean, I felt like it's closer than that, but it's not that far from downtown, and I think that people will shuttle down there. People that put on these conferences will have transportation availability even beyond what the hotel does. They'll work with that hotel to get that transportation. But as a taxpayer, I would say that I was a big supporter of the transportation, or the transformation tax that was defeated. I was a huge supporter. I thought it was a great thing for downtown. But the city of Jefferson said no. And one of the big proposals was the parking garage. The mall property has ample space to park vehicles out there. I remember working for an association where we had a lot of vendors who wanted to sell heavy equipment to the folks that we had. And in the downtown, it didn't work. I mean, it takes up too much space to put, road grader and a dump truck or whatever these guys were wanting to show off. Out there, you could do those things. And I think that the appetite for the city taxpayers to pay for a parking garage is just not there. So I personally think that the mall site's a good place, and I know it's a tough decision for all of you. I hope you make the right decision. Thank you.
Thanks, Ryan, for coming tonight. Next we have on the list, Ms. Colleen Taylor. Welcome, Colleen.
First of all, I'd like to thank everyone in red to stand up for just a minute that are in support of the downtown site. Thank you. First of all, I would like to thank you all for allowing us to have this time and to say, and thank you for your time, because I know how much time you all put into this. First of all, my name is Colleen Taylor, 207 East High Street, and I have been a travel consultant for over 30 years. We won't say exactly how many. And I feel that I know what people expect when they come, when they travel to a conference. And I've made this into 6 brief points. Please do not ignore the data. Building the conference center is not the entire goal. It must also be successful. 66% of the meeting planners who will be using and bringing the business to the convention center have stated that they prefer the downtown site. Plus, think of the hoteliers in the city who are collecting the tax that would be funding the project. 2 of the hotels with 150 of the rooms will be considered overflow hotels and are located outside the city limits and have not and will not in the near future be contributing to the lodging tax for the convention center. Third, be consistent with how you sold the tax to the voters. The public voted for the lodging tax based on the statements made by the city council and the newspaper about being placed in the downtown location. Number 4, the history of the project did not begin with the current RFP. For years, the site has been prepared for the downtown location. Parcels have been acquired, as we've all heard from tonight. The buildings, like the Bassman House, were torn down with precious tax dollars, and presently there are boarded up buildings waiting for your follow-through with long-standing plans. 5, listen to your citizens. The Downtown Association has endorsed and agreed for 1 downtown parking garage structure that has been approved to be located with the new conference center. There's already been in the works that we're going to have a downtown parking structure at some point in time, and we have said we would like to have it at the conference center. And that parking money has been derived solely from downtown shoppers and workers. I really feel that the money needs to be used the way the contributors are asking you to use it. Finally, put forth an effort by communicating with the state. The Attorney General has come out in support of the downtown location, has invited you to work with the Office of Administration and Economic Development. Thank you.
Thanks, Colleen, for being here tonight.